Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be doing another collections video. However, this time I'm going to be looking at the strangest collections. Now in general, I've been looking at the largest collections, which are really impressive. However, there are some really niche collections out there of items that are theoretically tradable and possible to obtain, but either in a really roundabout manner or they are just not sellable on the Grand Exchange. One really popular type of item like this is burnt food. However, there are even weirder items that people collect, and I'm really excited to share them with you today. I want to give a special shout out to the RuneScape collection Discord. They provided me with a lot of their best collections. It is a very small community on Discord. However, if you are interested in RuneScape collecting, it's a great place to go. I will leave a link in the description for the Discord. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoy and let's get started. Okay, well let's start off here with a banger, and that is by a user named Crafter. Now, if you don't know what this item is, that's okay, but it is one of the first items that you can obtain in the game, and it is not tradable on the Grand Exchange. Those are Newcomer Maps, and they can only be obtained from general stores, and they only stock a quantity of 5. Now, what that essentially means is Crafter had to hop worlds at least 20,000 times to obtain all of the maps necessary, which is insane. That must have taken a long time, although I do believe he did manage to sell them. Collections like these are really impressive because there's no way to actually get them through a convenient method like the Grand Exchange, and it's not very likely either that someone else has this collection. So I think most likely he obtained all of these Newcomer Maps himself from scratch and worked himself all the way up to 100,000. Oftentimes RuneScape collections gain value when you have larger quantities of hard to obtain items, so I'm not really sure the exact quantity price he sold them for, but I'm sure he made a pretty decent profit. Now the next image here sparked the whole reason for making this video, and that is a collection by NQ. Now what do we have here, ladies and gentlemen? We have a bronze fire arrow lit collection. I think that may be the only time I've ever said lit in a video, and hopefully it will be the last time. Now what is a bronze fire arrow lit? It is a tradable item that is obtainable in the Underground Pass quest. If you remember, at the beginning of the quest, you need to actually light an arrow on fire and shoot it. Now you can actually do that to any arrow here, but NQ has decided to collect 100,000 of the lit bronze fire arrow. These actually need to be created manually with an oily cloth. First up, you need to grab an oily cloth from the abandoned equipment, wrap it around some bronze arrows, and then light it with a tinderbox. This must have been an insanely slow process, but he managed to eventually collect 100,000. And like a lot of the other collections, this item is not tradable on the Grand Exchange, although you can trade it person to person, although I really doubt anyone else has this collection. Next up here we have another really impressive collection, and for a bunch of different reasons. This is a collection by Gabba Hats. Now first up here, he has one of the largest collections of burnt food that I have ever seen, having 2.5 million monkfish, 2.3 million burnt swordfish, 1.7 million burnt lobsters, and 1.7 million burnt tuna, like just a ton of stuff, as well as a bunch of the less common burnt foods like burnt pizzas, burnt shrimp, or burnt anchovies. Now if you don't know, lower level burnt food items are a lot rarer than higher level ones, and the reason for that is that you don't actually burn those lower level items for that long, which makes them a lot rarer. Along with that, once again, burnt food is not sellable on the Grand Exchange, although it is tradable. But that is not it. If you actually look in the bottom right corner here, there's another pretty impressive collection, and that is shazien supply crates. And this mad lad has 6 million of them. Now to be fair, shazien supply crates are actually obtained in stacks of 100, and you get them noted. Otherwise, this would be ridiculous. I don't think anyone would have collected that many. Once again, the shazien supply crate is tradable, but not sellable on the Grand Exchange. Now, the way you obtain them is by searching drawers in all of the houses in the Lovakenj area, and even considering that they obtained 100 at a time, that still means that they searched a drawer or a cupboard or something at 60,000 times, which is still a ridiculous amount. I'm not really sure the speed of harvesting shazien supply crates because, well, I've never done it. I know, surprise, weird. That is just another insanely impressive collection by hand, so I really have to give props for that. Okay, next up here I actually have a collection from RS3, however it has a really interesting backstory, so I think it's worth putting in here. This was initially submitted to me by a user named Bodhi, which is a very well-known collector and has appeared in these videos before with some of the most impressive collections in Old School RuneScape at least. Now what we have here is an extremely rare item from RuneScape 3. It is called a Separate ID Burnt Lobster, and apparently there's only maybe 20 to 30,000 in the entire game. Now apparently it was initially created by a bug quite a while ago, and the way you can tell the difference between it and a regular lobster is that one of the lobsters has an eat option on it and the other one does not. And with a third-party client you may actually be able to look at the lobster's ID. At now one point they had 5,000 of these alternate ID lobsters, and apparently they managed to sell them for around 200,000 GP each, which means the entire collection of maybe 5,000 lobsters could sell for around 700 mil. Now I guess this could be considered a discontinued item, but it was originally created by a bug. Now what is really impressive is that Bodhi managed to collect 10 to 15% of all of these alternative burnt lobsters in the entire game, which I think is an extremely unique collection and very impressive. Okay, next up here I have a collection that was submitted to me on Twitter by a user named Bailey Jackson. And there's just a ton of interesting stuff here. One thing that initially caught my eye was the crude chair flat packs, which initially I thought, well, those must never be traded on the Grand Exchange, but actually they are, which is very surprising. But still, to a very minor degree, there's maybe 500 to 1,000 traded every day, which means obtaining these all from the Grand Exchange probably took around a year alone just for that single item. But beyond that, there's also the 600k kebab collection. Again, very, very impressive, as kebabs aren't really obtained in a very quick manner. But beyond that, there was actually an insane collection of burnt food down there that I don't even think I've seen stacks that high before. First up here, there is a collection of 4.6 million burnt lobster, which is extremely impressive. Like 4 million burnt shark, 5 million burnt monkfish. That is crazy. I don't think I've seen many collections of burnt food over 5 million. As well as brown aprons. That's kind of an interesting one. But really just a ton of interesting items here that makes for a really impressive collection. Now this next one isn't exactly weird by definition. I think the items that are collected here are weird, but they are tradable in the Grand Exchange and definitely obtainable. But oh my god, look at this. This is a collection by Victorian, and they have collected 1 million rakes, 1 million garden trowels, and 1 million watering cans. That is crazy. Look at that evaluation of 726 million just from these dumb items. What the hell? Now these items do trade on the Grand Exchange, but their limit is extremely restrictive at 40 quantity per 4 hours, which means that if they were bought on the Grand Exchange on one account, it would take 11.5 years to obtain 1 million garden trowels, for example. So this collection is absolutely bonkers, and both the rake and the watering can have the exact same buy limit, which means this collection to buy on the Grand Exchange would take somewhere in the realm of 35 years to obtain it all, which is absolutely mad. And next up here, we actually have another collection from RuneScape 3. There were a couple interesting ones on the RuneScape Collect Reddit, which I will leave a link in the description for that as well. Now this person managed to collect 100,000 of the rare item tokens from the Treasure Hunter promotion. Now I don't actually play RuneScape 3 a lot, but apparently that was the equivalent of spending 28 billion GP to obtain that many of the tokens, which I have to say, even with RuneScape 3's less valuable currency, is still an insane amount of money. Probably the equivalent of a few max cash stacks in Old School RuneScape. Makes this an absolutely crazy collection with probably one of the highest GP investments out of any of the collections I've seen so far. And this collection was by a player called Aldemir. Absolutely crazy. And now last up here, I wanted to go over 2 more honorable mentions, although they're not really strange collections per se. We haven't hit 10 minutes yet, so we're going to go show a few more collections here, guys. First up here, we have a collection by Itachi, which you can see here, he almost has 200 million feathers. While feathers do have a pretty high buy limit, 200 million, that is still absolutely crazy. I was wondering today if someone maybe has 1 billion feathers. I don't know, that could be possible. But for those feathers, that's probably close to a 500 mil investment just for that item, which is extremely impressive. But I want to see 1 billion feather collection now. And the other image here we have is by OSRS Econ, which again, a very impressive collection of green stacked items. 100 million feathers, 43 million wines, 106 million Terramantar, I think, 63 million Marentil tar possibly, 22 million arrow shafts or javelin shafts, and 10 million flax. A really impressive collection of a value of around 560 mil, but probably worth more than that. And there was one other item collection, honestly, I couldn't find a image for it. But let me guys know if you remember this. Do you guys remember someone posting on the RuneScape Reddit a collection of 100 Dragon Defenders? I swear that happened. Maybe it was just a weird dream I had, I don't know. But I think there's an image out there of someone with 100 Dragon Defenders, although I could not find it for the video. Regardless, guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you have any other extremely strange or unique collections you want to show off in a future video, leave a comment down below. Hit me up on Twitter, or you can send me an email. I would love to check them out and include them in a future video. Anyway, guys, thanks so much again for watching. If you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate it if you left it a like, and I will see you next time.